welcome back to the certification test prep questions. So here we finished 2 sections so far out of 10. So let's go ahead and continue on with the next section and see how much we can get through in the next hour and a half of class. Okay, so next one's going to be QuickBooks Lists Management, which is going to be 6% of the exam, which is approximately 3 questions. So a student should know, okay? Section question number 1 is going to be in regards to all of these chapters, right? Okay, how do you manage your list? So customers, vendors, and items, right? We talked about how to add people to a list, right? Or a customer, but in this case, how do I add new entries on a list? Okay, so we're looking at items instead of people right now. So again, we did talk about that, right? We said it's going to be going down. So on when you're going to open up the list, and then there's a drop down menu at the very left, okay, bottom left corner, right? You're going to have a drop up menu, and you're going to click on new, okay? That is the same for every single list that you see here. So your accounts, your chart of accounts is a list, right? Your items is a list. Your price list, your terms list, your templates, they're all the same format, okay? It's a list of all the items that you're going to be putting on that list, right? And how do you add entries in there? They're all the same, okay? So you can choose to do that, or you can right click on list, right? And then you're going to select new. Okay. So that's just adding the entries in there. What about deleting entries? Okay. What about deleting entries? Okay. There's some rules on deleting entries. Okay, so I taught you this in primarily chapter 12. How do you delete your entries?
I recall we should not be deleting entries if they've been utilized. Are you talking about accounts, or just like if it's been used in a transaction, we shouldn't be deleting such?
Excellent, right? That was the criteria, is you should never delete either an item, account, whatever it is, if it has been used in a transaction, okay? But what if it's never been used? Let's say you created that account, and because you wanted to make sure that you had that account available, and till today you have never ever used it. How would you delete it then?
Inactivate it.
We'll talk about inactivation in a minute. How would you just delete it?
In the same manner that you add a new one, it's either do a right click delete, or you go to the drop down or drop up selection menu and select delete account.
Excellent, right? That's the same exact way too. So you can copy this, right? That's exactly how you'd be able to do that as well. Okay, by either right clicking, or you have that drop up menu. So bottom left corner, drop up menu, but instead you would just select delete. Okay. Right, and that also goes for the same way as to edit the account as well, right? If you're trying to edit an entry, it'd be the same as adding or deleting, right? Same ways. Now, for this, right, what is the condition if you have used this account? If you have used the item, account, whatever it is, right, in a transaction, how would you what do they recommend you to do instead of deleting it? Inactivate.
It.
Good. Inactivate or what?
Hide. Hiding.
Hiding is the same thing as inactivating. You can either inactivate it or you can merge.
Or merge.
Yeah, okay. So in this case, right? Okay, how do I inactivate an account? Or item, whatever it is that you put on that list. How do I inactivate it?
On each entry of those item account, there is a square box that said inactive, and then we just click it to set it to inactive.
Excellent, right? Okay, so that's one way. So in each item, right, when setting up, you can edit the account slash item, right, and select box to inactivate. Okay, that's one way. What's the second way?
Is it available on the right click list that's there?
Yep. Yep, you can right click and select make item inactive. Okay? And what's the third way? So for example, if I'm in my chart of accounts and I want to make this account inactive, how can I do it?
Down account.
You could go down to the left bottom corner and make account inactive. Good. Okay? So that's to hide my accounts. Okay, so let me add that in here. Bottom left corner, drop up menu. Okay, and you're going to select make item slash account inactive. Okay. Okay, so once I inactivate them, how do I reactivate them? Or in this case, activate them. How do I be, so if let's say I hit them, but then again, one day that same exact customer decided to come in and they decided to utilize that item again. How do I activate it?
Remove and we would see some signs.
Is there an option to show inactive accounts?
Correct. There is an option to show inactive accounts. Okay? So if I were let's go ahead and do this example. So if I were to make this account inactive and let's see, let's make this account inactive and maybe make this account inactive. Okay? right? At the very bottom of every single list, there is an option to include inactive items. So if I click on this, how do I activate those accounts again?
Just unclick the item, the thing on the bottom. Uncheck it.
How do I uncheck it? By clicking,
Can you just click on the X?
click on the X and it would activate the account. Boom, boom, boom. So there you go. That's one way to do it. You can right click on it and then make the account active again. Okay, so yes. So if the account is inactive, how do you make it active again? Right? At bottom of list, select include inactive, right? And then select the X on the left side of the item to make it active again. Okay. Or you could simply right click on, well, you have to be on that screen, right, to see the inactive items. Right click on inactive item and select make active. Okay. All right. And of course, you could go down to the drop down menu and be able to do the same thing too. Right. So editing the entries, right, this is going to be the same as adding and deleting, right? You can edit an item at any given time, at any given point in time as well. So you're not required to do it specific times. You can do it at any given time. Okay, even if you made a mistake and forgot the account number, go right into it and edit the information and just add the account number in there. Okay, so again, you can edit it at any given time. Now, what is the rules on merging? So merging entries. So I'll just follow the study guide. So the study guide says you need to know how to merge the account. Okay. Or I guess I can just move this over. How do I merge account?
Well, once it's done, it cannot be undone.
Okay, so that's definitely a good thing. So so that's, I'm gonna put that here. Once an account / item is merged, it cannot be undone. Okay, that's a good rule. What's the other rule? How do you merge an account? Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, was it backup your data first?
No, not necessarily, but yes, you can use the backup data to see where or what point in given time, because once you merge the accounts, right? Here's another rule here. You cannot tell which account / item existed first, right? And that's where you have to use backup to determine that. Okay. So, for example, once you've done the merge, right, you won't be able to tell which one came first because they're all just going to be one account. Okay. Now, what's the other rule that's most important on how to merge the item? There has to be the exact order, or else it does not work. You select the one you do not want. Okay. Okay. So what happens if you select the one that you don't want? Select the item you do not want. What do you do with that item?
You change the name to match the one you want to keep.
Good. You edit info to change the name and account number. So if you're using account number, the account number must match as well. To match the item you do want to keep. Okay, and then of course, when you're gonna save it, and once you save it, it's gonna give you a message to say that message pops up, says this account exists already. Do you want to merge? And that's where you select yes. Okay? Excellent. Good, 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 good. Okay? So there you go. We already did that. We moved that up here to merging entries. So again, there's lots of rules in regards to merging. So it's very important that you know what you're doing, and are you for sure that you want to do it? Okay? All right, so we're done with that section there. Okay? Next section is items, which is 8% of the exam, which is approximately 4 questions. Well, guess what? We didn't even talk about items or inventory, so we're going to be skipping this section right here. So that means we'll come back to it eventually, okay? After we finish our next half of the lessons, the next 2 weeks from now, I believe Thursday will be the day that we complete this, and then you're able to also, or actually Wednesday, since we have no gap here, Wednesday will be the day that we complete this, and then Thursday you'll take your exam. All right, so now that we got that covered, sales, okay? A student should know, okay, it's 10% of the exam because, again, sales is a huge chunk of QuickBooks, right? It makes it a lot more easier to do a lot of the functions because sales is one of the aspects of what a core business does, right? It wants to generate profit. It wants to make money. How do you make money? You make it through sales. Okay, so it's approximately 5 questions. So a student should know. So chapter 2, we just covered this a couple days ago on Monday. Okay, who should be listed on the customer center? Straightforward question. Who? Who should be on the customers list?
So the
Customer. All of the customers.
Right, but so as customers, what makes a customer a customer?
they buy, saw, receives an item from.
Good. It's people use. Oh, I should take my cap blocks off. Sorry, guys. People you sell a product or service to. Okay. Straightforward, right? How do you use and navigate the customer center? So that's a pretty straightforward question, right? I'm not going to spend too much time on this because that will be you are going to be answering this. But it's straightforward, right? When you go to your customer center, what do you do? How do you navigate the customer center, right? You could take a look here, right? It's a list of all of your customers with their respective account balances. The right side has the info, all the transactions that you have with them, and what do you do in here? How do you navigate it? This is where you add your customers. This is where you can add any transactions that's in regards to a customer, right? So again, you guys can answer that on your own for that question. Okay. How do you complete the workflow from sales to making a deposit? So again, what is this talking about? This is talking about how do you get from this point all the way to this point. Straightforward, right? So this is the sales process. So again, this is where you're going to be saying, well, let's talk about why you would issue an invoice. Why would you issue an invoice?
That's how you bill them. Or if you collected the money, that's a record of what was sold.
Okay, that's a good explanation, but why would you use an invoice over a sales receipt?
Because the customer hasn't paid yet.
Good. You use it when customers choose to pay you later and owe you on an account. Okay? So they have an account, like a customer account with you guys, and you let them borrow money from you by letting them take the products in advance and they pay later. Okay? Good. Right? And of course, what happens to that? You have this receive payments. Now, I'm going to leave this section here for you to do the how. Okay? How do you issue an invoice? There are 6 ways to be able to do that. List them all. Okay? And of course, what about receiving payments? Okay? So again, that happens literally right after, right after you got the invoice, right? Your job is to receive payments. Okay? The how is going to be 7 different ways. Make sure you type up and list out what all those 7 different ways are. I'm not going to go over them because they're pretty much identical to each other, okay? So make sure you list out the home page, the menu bar, the centers, all of it, okay? And of course, when do we issue a sales receipt?
When they paid cash or something right at the time of sale.
Good. When customers pay at time of service or sale. Okay, so whether they pay you via cash, check, credit card, EFT, right? They can sell you money. They can cash app you. All right. Whatever ways that they pay you, that's at time of the service or sale is when you use a sales receipt. Okay? And then lastly, deposits, right? Deposits. Why do you need to deposit money? Or in this case, what's the purpose of using the deposits window?
Putting money down for future use. I mean, to go to a future payment of something that was sold.
Okay, so I'm not talking about a customer deposit. I'm talking about recording deposits.
That puts it in your checking account so you can use it.
Yes, right? It's the money you collect from your customers, right? Through various payments, okay? Whether it's cash, check, whatever it is, right? I forgot the Y. Payments, right? To deposit to your checking account. Okay? It must be done because in real life, what happens when you receive a check? You still got to go to the bank and deposit it, right? The bank is not going to magically appear in your bank account unless you use mobile apping. Okay? All right, what is the rules when making deposits? What do you have to deposit first?
Cash and check.
Yes, good. You got to deposit your cash. Okay, so cash and checks, okay? Okay. What about credit cards? What happens to credit cards? What do you have to do?
You have
We
to
separate
create
them by
an
the,
account, put them in, and then they take care of it.
Yes and no. What do you have to do?
we need to separate the kind of credit card because of the service fee differences.
Correct. Correct. We have to manually calculate this because on our end, right? The credit card company is already going to it's going to go directly straight to your bank. So that means your bank is already going to handle that. But on QuickBooks, we have to manually do that because we are making sure our books match the bank's books. Okay? We're not the bank ourselves. We don't handle that. So that's why we have to manually calculate those credit card charges for having customers be able to pay using their credit cards. So in this case, we have to assess the different credit credit card companies service charges. Okay. All right. How does QuickBooks use the undeposited funds account to the checking account? So in this case, this is a question that we have to ask ourselves. What is the purpose of the undeposited funds? Why does QuickBooks use the undeposited funds?
Because we only make a deposit once a day or twice. We don't make a deposit multiple times a day.
Right. So
So
what
you-
so what does that undeposited funds do? What does it do?
It's collecting the money that need to go to the checking.
Correct. It's an account that collects the money you receive from your customers, right? Various different payments, right? That account, the undeposited funds, is an account that basically collects all the money for you. Now, again, in real life, right? How would you collect that money, right? When you receive a check, what do? You probably have a box that you put in, right? And then you're going to take that box to the bank and then record everything that you need to record, right? That's essentially the same idea, right? But this time it's looking at what QuickBooks does for you. It's a temporary placeholder for you to just collect the money that your customers pay you. And then when you take that to the bank, that's where you're going to transfer the money from the undeposited funds, which is that lockbox that you carry around that has all the receipts, and you're going to put it into the bank, which is going to directly go from your undeposited funds to your checking account. Okay, so good. So it's what this does is it's just a means for you to have a placeholder to collect the money that you receive from your customers, and then when you make your deposit, it will transfer the money into your checking account. Okay, good. So this is one of those accounting behind the scenes kind of questions. Okay. All right, chapter 3. Right, next couple questions here. Chapter 3 says, for the additional customers, right? How and why do you record customer credits? Okay. Well, I listed a couple reasons here, right? In case you have to refund the customer, right? Or if the customer overpaid, you can use it for bad debt expense. Another one is for cancellation on orders. Okay, so those are going to be why you would record customer credits. Now, what do we call these customer credits? What are we creating?
Credit memo.
You're creating a credit memo. Yep. So now these are the reasons why. Now you're going to have to figure out how. How are you going to create those credit memos, right? And there are 7 ways that you can create a credit memo. Okay? So I'm going to put the note here. 7 ways. Okay? 7 ways you can create a credit memo. Okay? How and why to create customer statements. Okay? Let's ask the first. Let's talk about the how. All right, let's talk about the why. Why would you create customer statements? What's the purpose of them?
It's like if there are clients who prefer to have that in their books as well as if it's a monthly thing, then they get something that kind of, it lets them know where they're at with what they owe them, what they paid and all that.
Okay, good. In other words, It,
As a reminder.
as a reminder, that's also a good purpose. In other words, right, what you were describing was it tracks customers' activities, right? What did they do in the business? This is what they bought from me, right? But it also does what? It also gives them their account balance. It gives them a due date, right? So that gives them a reminder they have bills due or invoices due, okay? So what it really does is just gives them their account activity, okay? What overspan over, okay, so account activity over a span of time. So like you've mentioned, right? If it's a monthly thing, then they'll issue a statement of their activity that they've done every single month. So a great example would be a credit card, right? If you're a credit card company, right, and you have a whole bunch of customers who use your credit card, right? You issue them a monthly statement because what does that do? That tells them this is the charges you made on the card. This is the interest that you agreed that you would pay. This is your account balance. This is the amount that's due. Okay? So that is a perfect example of a customer statement. Okay? Now, how would you create it? Straightforward. There's only 3 ways you can create it. Okay? Now, how would you create it? Once again, you have the 3 ways, which is right here on your home page is creating the statements here, right? You can do it through your customer menu, okay? And if you go to the customer center, you only have one way, and that is by right-clicking on that individual and creating the customer statement that way. You're not able to do it through the top of there here or the main or the manage transactions. You can only do it by right-clicking on that customer to create that statement. Okay, so only 3 ways. Okay. Yes.
When you put like there's 7 ways, 3 ways, 6 ways, do you want all the ways put write down all the ways, or do you just want one way? Are these multiple choice questions, or are these fill in the blank questions?
So, as I mentioned right before, when you are being tested through the certification question, you can have a navigation question where they give you 4 steps, right? You need to put those steps in the exact order. And that is a way that you can enter in a transaction. Now, they can talk about many different ways. So, whichever one that seems the most correct, you're going to put those steps in order. So they might not just the first answer might not be the correct way or the way that they're looking for, right? If they're asking you for 4 steps to enter in a bill, that might be step number 1, go to the vendor's menu. Step number 2, go to the vendor center. Step number 3, go to the new transactions. Step 4, select new bill or enter bill, right? That could be a way, and that way is just through the using the vendor center, right? But in this case, I want you to utilize and maximize all the different ways because you could be asked many different questions. So, for example, right, we've seen many transactions where they say you're gonna receive payments by clicking on the icon on the home page. That is one way. So when I put in 7 ways, I want you to list out all the ways that you're able to enter in that same exact transaction. Okay? And I've mentioned all the ways in the lecture videos, right? The lessons. I talked about every single way because you could be asked any of those ways in a form of a question. Okay? So I say 3 ways. That means you're going to tell me how are you able to enter in a customer statement by navigating through the QuickBooks. So in this case, if there's 3 ways, First way is on the home page by clicking on the statements icon. Second way would be through the customer menu, right? When you click on that customer menu, you're going to select create statements. And then third way would be get any way to get to the customer center, right? Whether it's the home page menu bar or icon bar, you get to the customer center. Your only option there is to right click on that person to be able to select to create those statements. So again, overall, there's only 3 ways to be able to create the customer statement. And what I want you to do is yes, you should list them because it's also for your future, right? If you end up using QuickBooks, what is the quickest way to get to the customer center, or what is the quickest way to enter in a bill? Obviously, your first answer would be homepage, right? But what if you don't use the homepage? Well, you're able to do it through the menu bar. What if you don't like to use the menu bar? Then you have your second, third, and fourth, and sixth, seventh option, okay? So yes, that's what I want you to do. I'm just going to put in 3 ways because I don't want to type it all out because we have to go through the rest of these questions. So that's just a way that I can save time because it's a lot of different ways. Okay? And a lot of them are repeats. So we have to kind of get through this study guide and try to finish at least half of it by today. Okay? So again, that's what I want you to do when I say 3 ways. Chapter 5. We didn't talk about chapter 5. Okay, so I'm going to skip this section and we will come back to it. Okay. Next one's chapter 13, estimates and sales orders. Okay, this will definitely pop on the exam. I know it doesn't say on the study guide itself, but I've been getting a lot of for example, the certification. Even on the practice exam, you will be tested on maybe 1 or 2 questions on estimates. And on my certification exam, I was tested on what an estimate does. Okay, so in this case, I added this to the study guide. So we need to know how and what an estimate does and how do we use it. So in this case, how and why to create estimates. So let's talk about why. Why would you create estimates? What's the purpose of using estimates?
It's a bid.
Preview of how much it's going to cost.
Absolutely correct. Everybody said that was correct. So it's a bid, it's an offer. Okay, it's a quote, right, of what you want, right? That's what it is. Okay, now in this case, specifically for who? For who are you creating these offers, bids, and quotes for?
Potential jobs.
For potential jobs, for potential customers. Okay, now question here. When you do have these bids, offers, and quotes, are these guaranteed sales?
No.
No. So that's an important thing, is not a guaranteed sale. I think I spelled guaranteed sale. Okay? All right, and how and why to create sales orders? Well, what is a sales order?
Estimates generally tend to have a service involved with it, where a sales order is generally purchase of product only.
Okay, yes and no, but it depends on your company, right? Now, an estimate can include, hey, what if I want a photo package, which is a product that you sell, right? So in this case, a quote doesn't have to be just a service. It can go beyond the service. It could be both service.
Generally has a service involved, though.
Well, a sales order, right? If a customer says, I want to buy an hour of photo session, that is a service, right? So a sales order doesn't always technically have to be just a product itself. It could be a customer asking, okay, let's say a returning customer says, I want this and this and this, and I want you to schedule it there. But it's for the future, right? It's not you're not giving them a quote. It is a sales order, meaning they want this product and they want it done at this certain day. So that's the huge difference between a estimate and a sales order is they can basically ask for whatever they want to order from you. Okay, whether it's a service or a product, doesn't necessarily have to be just a product. But if you're thinking about using sales orders in a means to have it as like a rain check where you're making purchases of inventory based off of it, then yes, you would definitely use a sales order for that portion. Whether a customer wants some photo paper, but you don't have any left on hand, so you're gonna back order it, right? Then that's where you're gonna use a sales order to purchase that. Now that's the connection between making a sales order and creating a purchase order out from that sales order. Now, in this case, right, we can use a sales order to directly convert into an invoice. It doesn't necessarily have to mean you only use it strictly for just items. Okay? So again, what is it? Well, it's the same thing as an estimate, same as an estimate, but the only difference is it is a guaranteed. It becomes a guaranteed sale. So if a customer is commanding, I want this and this and this and this, I want it exactly for this time, that means it eventually becomes a sale. Where an estimate, those customers might not ever come back to you. So you might end up losing on that sale. So that's a huge difference there. Now again, how would you create that? You guys can explore those options yourself. Okay, so the how to create an estimate, straightforward, right? There's that six different ways to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna put how 6 ways. Okay, and then of course a sales receipt. Okay, the how is exactly the same. 6 ways. Okay. How to do progress invoicing. Okay, let's talk about what progress invoicing is and how would you use it. Okay, so what is progress invoicing?
Where you don't bill them to be paid for the whole thing. It's just a percentage or a portion as a job is being completed.
Good, right? You can bill an entire project into sections or percentage or by selected items. Percentage or selected items. Okay. So again, you can bill them based on a project or again by completion. Okay. And okay, and then of course you guys can explore the how. How would you do? How would you be able to do progress invoicing? Right? You guys can do that, right? You need to set it up, and then how is by when you set it up, that preference on your home page. So you just set preference on company preferences. And what that does is it activates. So when every time you have an invoice, right, or you're creating the invoice from an estimate, it's going to automatically trigger that progress invoicing window. Okay. So how do you record customer deposits? Now, this is the question about customer deposits. Okay. First off, let's talk about why would you have a customer deposit? Okay. This one's straightforward, right? If you require a customer to pay a portion of sales to ensure their commitment to the order. Okay. Again, to record customer advanced payments. Okay. Now, how would you do that? We just went over that yesterday. Okay. Right? You need to set up the account first. Okay. Then you need to set up the item, right, which is going to be known as either service, or it could be a payment or payment item. Okay. Then you're going to apply item to invoice when creating the invoice. Well, actually, hold on. Once you created that, you need to receive payment through a sales receipt. Okay. With customer deposit item. Okay. And then you're gonna apply to the invoice when creating the invoice by adding item to invoice with a negative amount. Okay. All right. Okay, let's see. Purchases. Right here for chapter 4. Yes, we did go over this. Oh. Okay, so let's see. So this is going to be 10% of the exam, which is approximately 5 questions in regards to purchases, because once again, that also is one of the main portions of a business. Is you need to have suppliers. You need to have people who help you build your product or something like that, right? So again, who is going to be listed on your vendor center?
Those who sells you items or services.
So, okay, provide service, right? They could be your suppliers. One more. Who else is also going to be part of your vendors? Anybody that's a 1099 worker, because what are they doing for you? They're providing a service by working for you. Okay? So that's who else is going to also be on that list. Okay? How to use and navigate the vendor center. Right? You guys can answer that on your own. The different workflows from working purchases and how to enter in each workflow. So again, entering in bills, bill payment, write a checks window, using the credit card payment, using a debit card. Okay. So first, let's start about entering bills. Okay. So of course, entering bills is pretty straightforward, right? You only do it when you pay for services or products on an account which you pay later. You pay later. Okay? And of course, what happens after that? You need to go ahead and pay your bill off based on what the billing date says on your bill. Okay? So again, the how to enter in a bill is going to be 6 ways. Okay? The how to do a bill payment. Okay? There are 7 ways. So, yes, you can explore that option. All right, you use the write a checks window. Okay? You can use the write a checks window. All right, when you pay for services or item products, okay, at time of purchase. Okay, right? You can use the write a checks window, which means that you are using Intuit's software, Intuit's software to be able to print checks. Okay, right? You can also use the register, right? Where when you have options, for example, if you wrote a manual check, you can enter that into the register. Okay. You can also do that for EFTs, right? So if you have an electronic funds transfer, you're not writing a check out, right? You're going to have to put that in there through the register. You can also do that for a debit card transaction too, right? Instead of writing a check out, you use your debit card. All you have to do instead of you just plug this into the register, right? So debit card, EFT, or manual checkbook. You're going to enter these transaction through the check register. Okay. And of course, what about entering in a credit card transaction, right? There's only 3 ways that you're able to do that by clicking on your home page, right? If you choose to use a credit card, you're going to be using the enter credit card charges, okay, which is going to be on your home page. So again, if you're using a credit card to pay for something, you have it right here, because credit cards are liabilities, right? It's money that you don't own, right? It's money that you're going to owe to a credit card company to pay for those things for you in advance, okay? So again, it's a liability. That's why it's separate than using the check register, because it's not your money. It's the credit card company's money. Right? What about how to record Yes.
It's my English language problem. When you said enter credit card charges there, where you showed me under the banking center, you were talking about me as a company using credit card charges.
No, I'm referring to myself who used the credit card to charge
Right?
to buy
Okay.
stuff.
So I'm the user.
Yeah.
My credit card to do.
Remember. This is your company file. So that means this
Okay.
is only your books. Whatever
Okay.
company that you're working for, or whatever company that is working for you for services, you don't care anything about them. It
Okay.
has nothing to do with you, except for when you receive a statement and they charged you money, then that's something you have to record because it affects your business. But in this case, any transaction that you use through QuickBooks on your company file is your business. That means it's what you are doing as a
Okay.
company.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Again, how to record the transaction in the purchase workflow. So again, right, if you're going to be buying stuff, are you going to be using the write a checks window? How are you buying stuff? That's what that question is asking. How and why do you record vendor credits? Ooh, what's the purpose of a vendor credit?
When the vendor gives you a discount or a credit or a refund.
Good, right? When a vendor issues a refund, a credit, uh, uh, or a discount. Good. Right? What was that? No? Nothing? Right? And of course, how? How would you be able to enter in a vendor credit? How would you be able to enter in a vendor credit?
It's a vendor's memo.
There's no such thing as a vendor's memo.
So
What was that, Wahhabi? Say that again. Banking. No, you would never. No, you would not be able to record a vendor credit through the banking. Nope. Because they're giving you money, right? You would not record that as part of the checking account because you're not paying them, right? So you wouldn't be using your checking account or banking. So how do you issue a vendor credit? Okay. How would I record this vendor credit? Say that again, Wabi. At the what? No, 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 no. You would never do. You wouldn't use adjustments to create a vendor credit.
It under the enter bills?
It is under the enter bills. So anywhere that you're able to enter in a bill, right? You click on enter bill. You click on enter bill. At the top of the window, you can toggle it between bill and credit. So that's how you're going to be able to enter in a vendor credit. Okay? So that's what I'm going to put in here. Any way you can enter bill. Right? Any way that you can enter a bill. And then I'm going to say right here, toggle at top of window to switch from bill to credit. Okay. All right, how and why to record vendor deposits. Let's talk about why. Why would you need to record a vendor deposit?
Now, is a vendor deposit when you put a down payment on something that you're purchasing?
Excellent. That's correct. So, yes, it's when a vendor requires you to put a down payment on an order or purchase So then how would you record that? Now it's a kind of a big step process. So how would you record a vendor deposit? You're not going to go through the vendors, no. How would you record a vendor deposit?
Under expense?
Mm,
Well, wouldn't we have put in a purchase order to whoever the vendor is? We would do it through that like we do with the deposits for customers giving it to us with our invoices.
no. Good try though. You would think it'd be the same, but it's actually not. Okay, let's first think about how would you issue a vendor their deposit? What would you do first?
Write that check.
You got to write them a check. Good. Right? You got to write them a check. Okay? So then after you wrote the check, what happens next?
Well, you need to give that check to your vendor.
Yes. So when you
And then
do,
you need to get a list from them saying that you paid them.
okay, so a better way to say that is when you do issue the vendor a check, you're going to assign a job to them. Okay? Put the vendor's name.
Okay.
Okay? Now, I issued them the check, right? So then what happens when I issue them the check? What should I be receiving from them?
A sales receipt?
Not a sales receipt. We're talking about vendors.
A purchase receipt?
Not a purchase receipt. What do we call that?
An invoice?
Item?
Not an item. An invoice is to customers. They would be invoicing me, yes, but what do we call that?
A vendor credit?
No. You're getting close. Okay, so terminology is very important. So to that company, they're going to be invoicing me. But to me, what do I receive that as?
That's the bill.
You receive it as a bill. Okay? So that's why it's very important to remember bills are for vendors, invoices are for your customers. Very, very specific. Yes, it's true that you're receiving an invoice, but to the company who's issued that to you, it's an invoice. To us, it's a bill. Okay, because we owe that money. So there, you should be receiving a bill. Okay? Now, when it comes time to pay the bill, so when you pay the bill, right, you're going to select bill payment, right? Okay, let me put parentheses, bill payment. Okay? This is where you're going to select the bill, okay? And how do you apply the deposit? On that bill, right, at the bottom of the window, you're going to set a credit, okay? When you set the credit, that's where your vendor deposit's going to be available, and you're going to apply it to the invoice, okay? Set credit to apply to bill, okay? So again, let's take a look at that window real quick. So when I do make so because I assigned that the check is to that particular customer, to that particular vendor, right? That's the most important thing there. When I assigned it to that person, when you do your pay bills memo right there, you're going to click on that individual, right? And you're going to set that credit, right? And when you set that credit, it's going to have that deposit that you have issued, right? Because you assigned it to that particular vendor. So it's very, very important that you do assign that check to that person. So then it pops up as a credit, and you're going to use the credit to apply to the bill to essentially apply the down payment. Okay. All right. So this, again, that one's a few more steps than it is to be able to do for a customer, right? A customer, you just put on their invoice. For this one, you have to wait till you pay the bill first for you to apply the down payment. Okay. And again, how do you use the loan manager? Okay. Right. So again, this is only for if you are taking out a bank loan or taking out a truck loan, right? First rule here is you need to enter the loan in the chart of accounts first. Okay, it must exist first before you can use the loan manager. Okay, when you use the loan manager, there's only one way to get to the loan manager. How do you get there? How do I get to the loan manager?
The icon bar.
No.
No.
You cannot get to the loan manager through the icon bar. There's only one way.
I don't remember. Is it in banking?
Let's take a look at banking. Is there an option where you have the loan manager? Who do you make payments to when you have a loan? The bank, but what are you using the bank as? They're a vendor, right? You pay them, right?
Yes.
So if I go to the vendors menu, my loan manager's right here. Okay. Only way you are, wait, hold on. Loan, it should be loan manager. Is it?
It's in the banking, it said. From
Oh,
the banking, you
let's see.
select the manager.
Banking. Oh yeah, you're right. It is banking. Sorry about that. I was thinking about making the payments to them. So in this case, yes, you're right. It is under the banking menu, right here, banking menu. Only one way to get there is through the banking menu. Okay, and you're gonna select the loan manager. What can you do in the loan manager?
You can set up the monthly payment.
You can say, okay, good.
Credit. I don't know if it's the right way to say it. The one who is lending us the money.
Uh-huh. You can create the loan itself. Okay, good. So select loan manager. Okay, so what can you do in the loan manager? You can set up the loan, right? So we can keep track of all the interest that you're collecting. Okay, track of interest you are collecting. Okay, you can schedule payments. Okay, and that's pretty much what you can just do in there. Okay. All right. All right, chapter 8 we haven't gone into, so we're going to skip this whole section. Okay. Right here we have chapter 3, additional customer setup sales tax. So this question says, how do you set up collect sales tax and pay sales tax? All right, let's talk about how first. How do you set up sales tax?
In preferences?
Yes. tax by going through company preferences, so edit menu, company preferences, under sales tax. Okay, what does it mean to set up? Okay, what are you setting up? You're setting up your sales tax codes. What are sales tax codes?
Is that taxable or non-taxable?
Correct, right? It's to designate, to assign, okay? To assign taxable items and non-taxable items. Okay? What else are you setting up? What else do you have to set up?
You need to set up what taxes you're paying. Yeah, whether it's county, city, state,
Okay,
all that.
good. So that's, okay, so how do we set that up? What do we need to create to set up those?
Don't we set up account?
We already have, if we say that we charge sales tax, QuickBooks will automatically create you a sales tax account.
Oh. The percentage of tax?
Okay, you're treading on the the right path, but where do I set those up? What do I have to create to set up those percentages? What do I call those?
Class?
Not classes. Classes is helps you to track your income and your expenses. Okay. Right? What section gives you a list of all the products and services that you sell?
Items and services?
Items and services. If I click on that, I need to create a sales tax item, right? And that's going to be where my percentage is. Okay? So again, I need to set up sales tax items. Right? And that's going to determine whether I do one for the state and county. Okay? Which I talked a whole bunch about that in chapter 3. Right? And then how do I collect sales tax? How do I collect that from my customers? Invoice, correct, right? I simply select the sales tax on either the invoice or sales receipt, right? So at the bottom of the window, right, I can designate what tax they're going to be charged, and that's how I collect it, okay? And last but not least, how do I pay it? How do I pay my sales tax?
Is it sales tax payables? I recall we do not want to write a manual check for such.
We don't use the, okay, good. We don't use a manual check. So how would I pay it if I don't use the manual check? Or if I don't use the write checks window? So how else would I pay it?
Isn't this one that's just in the register some way?
Nope.
Is it under the vendors menu?
Vendors menu.
And then pay sales tax and then pay sales tax.
Excellent. So that's one way to be able to do it. Go to the vendors, go to sales tax, and you'll be able to pay your sales tax liability. Okay, wait, sorry. Pay sales tax. Okay? Okay, that's one way. What's the other way?
Go to the oh, I was just there. Manage sales tax icon on the home page.
Excellent. Okay, hold on. Vendors, vendor menu. Okay, sales tax. Pay sales tax. Okay, good. Excellent. The second way would be going to the sales tax manager on icon on homepage, right? And that one's going to pretty much give you all the access to all three things that you can do, right? So if I click here, right here, manage sales tax. Okay, I got to rewrite that to manage sales tax. This will allow you to set up your sales tax. This also allows you to set up your items, right? Because if you click here, right, it will give you to the how to set up your sales tax items, set up your sales tax codes, and this is also where you can make your payments to sales tax. So again, to manage your sales tax is your go-to for pretty much all of those transactions. Okay. All right. Let's see. It's called manage sales tax. Okay. And then right here, chapter 5, bank reconciliation. We are skipping that because we won't talk about that until Monday. Okay. All right. All right, so we are running out of time. So it's about 4:47 right now. So let me go ahead and just kind of skip forward and tell you what you need and what you don't need. Okay, so again, payroll is chapter 10 and 11. And chapter 9, we definitely did not talk about. So we can skip that as well. Okay. Reports. We haven't even talked about reports either, which is chapter 6. Okay, so we can skip that section. Okay. Basic accounting. So again, I do want you to go over this, but right here, this section right here for chapter 14, we haven't talked about general journals. All right. So we can skip this, right, for next time. Okay. Let's see. This whole section right here, okay, this is chapter 6 report. So again, yeah, we didn't talk about reports either, so we can skip this section too. However, you guys are able to answer this section right here for for chapter 1. I'm going to highlight this as a different color, so I know that when we come back to it, we'll come back to it, but this is definitely something you can answer on your own. Okay? Customizing, so chapter 14. Obviously, we didn't talk about, so you can skip this one. I highlighted chapter 12, which, yes, we did talk about chapter 12. Okay. Question here is how to set up multiple users and what levels of access can they be granted, right? That is definitely something you can answer, right? By going to set up users on your company menu. Okay. And then chapter 7, right? This one is why to use and create custom fields, right? You guys can answer that. And that is it for, and then how to customize the templates, right? You can answer all of those questions. So again, we don't have time just because it's already 5 o'clock. But don't worry, I'm going to highlight those in different colors, so then we will have the chance to visit it, but for now, for the sake of the test that's tomorrow, answer these questions on your own, okay? All right, and then we'll visit it back here when we have the chance to on the last week of class, okay?